1 week later, Horizon Island, midday, the sun hung high over Horizon Island, with clear, quiet skies and a calm, warm wind. A rare stillness enveloped the landscape, broken only by the rhythmic waves lapping against the cliffs and the distant hum of drones gliding above the treetops. From the main courtyard, laughter echoed. It was something rare but becoming more common again. Sue stood near the central gardens, hovering a tray of water glasses through the air with absolute control. Her eyes remained closed as the tray passed through tight gaps between tree trunks and narrow railings. She was controlling it like a puppet on an invisible platform. A subtle smile touched her lips. She opened her eyes as the tray came to a gentle stop beside Johnny, who sat sprawled on a sun lounger, shades perched low on his nose. "Show off," he said, sipping one of the glasses. "You're one to talk," Sue replied, folding her arms as the tray floated back to her hand and settled neatly on the table. "Didn't you fly through a fireworks show last night?" "Technically, I was lighting the fireworks." Johnny grinned, fire flickering harmlessly over his knuckles. Jane's birthday party needed some spark. A loud thud shook the ground nearby. Ben dropped to the courtyard from a 40-foot leap, landing in a crouch, knees bent, a thin ripple of purple light spreading out from his feet and fading into the stone. His rocky form shimmered, and in the next breath, he was human again. "I didn't break anything, right?" he asked, brushing dust off his arms. "Not this time," Sue replied, raising an eyebrow. "You're getting better." "Tony's been pushing me hard," Ben said, glancing toward the cliffs. "Makes sense now. I can finally shift between my three forms within seconds now." "He said something similar to me yesterday," Sue added. "That precision means power. And power without control is just a liability." Johnny rolled his eyes. Yeah. Zen Master Stark and his metaphors. Meanwhile, he's flying around in space." They all looked up instinctively, as if trying to spot him streaking across the atmosphere, but Tony hadn't returned today. Space, orbital range between Mars and the Moon. Tony hovered silently in the vacuum of space, his cosmic form glowing with layers of gold and white energy that shimmered like a nebula compressed into a man-shaped vessel. Below him, the vast, red curve of Mars loomed, its barren surface slowly rotating beneath his feet. Surrounding him, dozens of projection beacons floated, mapping gravitational pulls, tectonic movements, and mineral signatures. He had been here for hours. He had already visited the Moon the day before, walking across its surface without a suit, in zero gravity, with no pressurization. He didn't need it anymore. His body absorbed every particle of solar radiation that touched him, converting it seamlessly into energy. Heat, light, vacuum, pressure, none of it meant anything now. His cosmic form no longer flickered or surged unpredictably. It was calm and in control. Tony was running parallel calculations while his own mind focused on terrain analysis, structural designs, and energy flow. The holograms floating before him displayed outlines of what would soon become the first Stark-class deep space station. A fully independent orbital habitat. Shielded, sustainable, and equipped with defensive arrays that rivaled anything Earth had ever conceived. He zoomed in on the data, studying mineral deposits near Mars's northern crater. He needed a launch anchor there. A clean zone for a secondary build. The foundation of what would be humanity's foothold beyond Earth. After leaving enough bots in Mars orbit and a few drones to map out the perfect layout and atmospheric changes, he shifted his attention toward the Moon. He turned and accelerated, trailing light across the stars. Moon, Tycho crater. Tony landed without a sound, feet brushing the silver-white dust. The Moon's surface glowed beneath his feet as the energy bled softly from his body, keeping him anchored. He stood at the edge of a carved shelf overlooking a black, untouched plane. He marked coordinates with a flick of his fingers. The nanites emerged from his body. The projection shimmered to life. A skeleton of steel, transparent force fields, and gravity wells took shape in light. "Looks good," he said. Tony spent a couple of hours working on an outline and layout for his lunar base. He knew there were too many enemies lurking in space, and he had no idea when one might appear. The best course of action was to enhance Earth's defenses and weaponry. He planned to create multiple space stations and orbital weapon systems around Earth, and a shield capable of covering the entire Earth in a defensive dome. It won't be easy and time-consuming, but not impossible. Back on Earth, his team was growing stronger every day. Sue's powers had begun to reflect her will, subtle but absolute. Ben had unlocked control over his transformation, managing density shifts on command. Johnny had learned to regulate temperature and energy output down to precise molecular thresholds. They were ready to handle the world. The next day, 7 a.m., sunlight spilled across the polished white stone of Horizon Island's central dining hall. Fresh fruit lined the long table beside pitchers of water, smoothies, and scrambled eggs. Plates clinked. Coffee brewed. The team sat in relative calm, a rhythm slowly building since the end of the war. Sue was scrolling through her holopad while Johnny was already on his second plate of waffles. Ben was nursing a protein shake that was the size of a cement bucket, and Natasha quietly sipped her black coffee as she read a digital report projected from her wristband. Meanwhile, Yelena and Melina accompanied Howard to the White House, serving as his guards for an important meeting. Tony entered last, towel still draped over his shoulders from an early swim, hair damp, his usual half-smirk in place. "You know," he said, grabbing a croissant and looking toward Nat, "this is the first morning no one's tried to throw something at me, threatened to train until collapse, or mention aliens. I almost forgot what domestic peace looked like." "It's weird," Ben muttered, "but not bad weird." "That's because Johnny hasn't spoken yet," Natasha said without looking up. "Excuse you," Johnny replied, raising his fork. "Some of us are in digestion mode. You wouldn't like me when I'm digesting." Sue shot him a look. "Please never say that again." Before he could respond, the lights in the room dimmed. A soft chime echoed through the hall as the emergency broadcast panel lowered from the ceiling. A red pulse framed the edges of the screen. Hermes's voice came through the speakers. "Emergency report. Commercial Flight 472 en route from London to Mumbai has suffered a mechanical failure. The right turbine lost at 40,000 feet. Elevation is declining rapidly. Cockpit electronics are offline. Visual confirmation from orbital drone indicates structural instability on the rear hull." Tony didn't hesitate. He stood instantly, the towel dropping to the floor. "Everyone suit up." The room shifted, and breakfast was forgotten. Plates were pushed aside, and chairs scraped against the floor. Without a word, the team activated their nanite cores. In a seamless burst, the nanites swarmed over their bodies, assembling armor in smooth, clean layers. The suits locked into place, and visors flicked down. Tony's HUD activated, and information poured in. "Flight is descending over the North Atlantic. Altitude at 33,000 feet and dropping. Passenger count, 206. Johnny flared his palms and floated a few feet off the ground. "Can I just fly there with my flames? I've been training for this." Tony glanced at him. "No. Your flame mode eats too much power, and we still haven't fine-tuned your long-range stamina. I need you to be precise, not flashy." Johnny frowned, but nodded. "What about you?" Ben asked. "You can fly without the suit." Tony smiled under his visor. "Yeah, but this is cooler." Natasha smirked slightly. "Classic. Enough chit-chat, let's go." They flew out of the balcony into the sky. In the sky, above the Atlantic, 27,000 feet and dropping, the air roared past them as the team flew at hypersonic speed. Tony was in the lead, his HUD feeding live telemetry from the drone network. The plane was tumbling, one engine shredded, the fuselage groaning under pressure. Panels had been ripped off by wind shear. Sparks trailed behind it. "Visual acquired," Tony said. 2 rear stabilizers failing. Hull integrity at 60%. The engines are overheated. He scanned properly. "Ah. Would you look at that? Someone tampered with the engine." The plane will explode in less than 2 minutes. Dang! Tell me you've got a flashy plan, Tony, Johnny said, looking at the burning section. Yup. Tony said as he activated his nanite swarms into the air. Legion. Fix the engines and stop the explosion. Johnny, extinguish the flames and lower the temperature of the overheated parts. Follow the HUD. Nat, get in and check the system and deploy the energy shield. Sue, block off the damaged hull. Ben, hold up that wing still till the nanites fix it. And, I'll stop the descent. Move.